stupid, tolerant, politically correct saying is, I hate it, is an enemy is just somebody to whose story you didn't listen. No, sorry, I read Mein Kampf of Hitler and I became even more enemy, and I listen to Russian media all the time, and I become even more. I think we should do everything possible to stop Russia. Not just to help Ukraine, but to get ready for a long-term conflict, because, you know, the plan of Putin is obviously to get Baltic states, and so it will go on. You know, now no way for Trump. I think, you know,
what do you mean by that, sorry?
I mean this. At that point, although the result was a little bit disappointing, I think that 4 years of Trump's presidency made it clear to everybody what Trump stands for. We needed that experience. The truth is out there. The truth is not deep in you. That's for me the lesson of Christianity. No, sorry to use this vulgar word. If you go deep into yourself, you discover shit. We are economically, militarily, ecologically approaching a deadlock. There will be a need for a radical change. If we, the enlightened people, don't do it, sorry, then the true right-wingers will do it.
Slavoj Žižek is probably as close as you can get to philosopher's Mick Jagger. He's debated Jordan Peterson, has over 100 million views on TikTok, and has been dubbed the most dangerous philosopher in the West. His new book, Christian Atheism, is out on the 4th of April, and he joins us now on Times Radio. A very good afternoon to you. Before we get on to the book, there's been a lot of discussion about Russia this week, and I know you'll be an excellent person to talk to this about. Vladimir Putin, earlier this week, winning a 5th term as president with a landslide, faced with, you know, 3 other candidates, all pretty much rubber-stamped by the Kremlin. What I would like to know is this the time for the West to intervene? Would there be merit to calling Vladimir Putin an illegitimate president?
Yes. This may sound strange because, unfortunately, what is now emerging in the West, in parts of the so-called, I don't call them that, left, and many on the right, is this idea that we should have a more balanced view. Maybe Ukrainians provoke it too much, maybe we are giving too much money to Ukraine, and so on. And the most horrible position is, for me, those of the leftists who say, whoever is against NATO, there must be something good in him. I mean, are they crazy? I think this is what Russia did there. I know that also in Ukraine, many things they did it wrong. But listen, it was such a clear, pure aggression. First, as a warning to any leftist, I remember the 2 speeches just before the aggression, 21st and 23rd of February.
Putin speeches,
yes. You know which was the only name he pronounced there? Lenin. He said Ukraine should be called Ukraine of Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. For him, this is the original Bolshevik sin. Putin is not a kind of a KGB old communist hardliner. No, his entire terminology is explicitly returning to the imperial times of empire expansion, and point 2, I can understand vaguely Russian, so as much as possible through podcasts I'm listening to their media. It's nightmarish what a deep fanatically religious fundamentalism you hear there. They speak in the terms of eschatological struggle, Russia, protector of Christian civilization against the godless West. I mean, you have to, again, you have just to listen to them. You know, one of the most stupid, tolerant, politically correct saying is, I hate it, is an enemy is just somebody to whose story you didn't listen. No, sorry, I read Mein Kampf of Hitler and I became even more enemy, and I listen to Russian media all the time and I become even more. So that's the paradox. As still radical leftist, I think we should do everything possible to stop Russia. Not just to help Ukraine, but to get ready for a long-term conflict because, you know, the plan of Putin is obviously to get Baltic states, and so it will go on.
Do you think, so let's follow this on then and talk about NATO and whether Russia will force NATO to get involved by their actions or whether NATO should step up further on Russia. And I want to throw into this as well the fact that, you know, are we in the West complicit by not delegitimizing Vladimir Putin, by not calling him the so-called Russian president after an undemocratic election? Are we complicit?
Yes, we are. Now, I know there is the danger of global war and so on. So I'm not saying we should do crazy things, but we should first set a clear red line, how do you call it, limit. And and if Russia crosses that limit, I agree here with Macron. Everybody was shocked when he said, we cannot totally exclude the possibility that Western NATO soldiers, we have to...
What is the line for you, Slavoj, just out of interest?
The line is this one. I'm here pretty open. I know that that Ukrainians were making mistakes, nationalistic mistakes, that Russians in the Donbas region were oppressed and so on. But, you know, I remember the first day of the intervention, Biden was asked what will be the reaction. And he said something very sensible for me. He said, let's wait and see. Is this just a limited operation to just gain a little bit of territory there? No, now it's clear. Putin is repeating it again. We have to get rid of the Nazi whatever regime there. So that should be the limit. Ukraine should survive.
Is there any naivety to Vladimir Putin? He's got this very set idea of what he wants to do. He wants to claim back territory. He wants to create another Soviet Union. Is there any naivety to that?
But it's creative naivety. What do I mean by this? It's this type of most intelligent naivety where he says all the time openly what he wants, but he counts on the fact that we in the West will not take him seriously. I remember even the days before Russian aggression of Ukraine began. All my political friends, I had many of them, not only in Slovenia, were saying, this is rhetoric, don't take it too seriously, and so on and so on. But Putin is playing this game, which is, I think, the most intelligent form of cheating. Cheat, deceive with truth itself. You just say what you really want and count on the fact that people will not take you seriously. So naivety is a very dangerous thing. We learned the same from Hitler, from all the totalitarians and so on.
Let's talk about your book, Christian Atheism.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this. For the first time in a census of England and Wales, less than half the population here, 46%, describe themselves as Christian. Okay, so for the first time ever, it went below 50% Christian, people describing themselves as Christian. No religion was the second most common response in that census. That increased by 12 percentage points. So you can see where this is going. I wonder whether the rise of the right wing in Europe, whether the rise of MAGA in the US, I wonder whether that means we feel less unified by religion. What is the reason that we're falling out of love with religion?
With which religion? I read somewhere that it's for me an extremely interesting data, that in the United States, if you focus on top corporate managers, you know what the large majority of them is? Not atheists, not Christians, but what I call ironically Western Buddhists. Some kind of enlightened meditation and so on. And this has a very dangerous conservative role. Why? You know that it always shocked me. Heinrich Himmler, if there ever was a bad guy, it's him. SS, the organizer of Holocaust. You know what was his favorite book? Bhagavad Gita. You know why? His question was, we are doing horrible things, we, SS. How can we retain our dignity without us becoming beasts, even if we are doing beastly things, like an SS officer killing a Jewish small child and mother crying. His answer was Bhagavad Gita, this teaching got act at a distance. Don't identify with your acts. And this is why I prefer Christianity. Because Christianity is for me an outward religion, in the sense of, no, there is no deep truth in yourself. Go out of yourself, commit yourself. That's why, in this sense, I'm a Christian atheist. You know, my favorite part of Gospels is, you know, when, I think in Matthew, all good things are in Matthew, Gospel, a pupil asked Christ, but how will we know after you will die? How will we know that you returned? You know what Christ says? When there will be love between two of you, I will be there. So I reject all that stupid story, second coming, blah, blah, blah. No, Holy Spirit, the spirit of community, of believers, is already Christ.
So it's already here.
It's already here.
It is.
We don't have to wait for arrival and so on.
We don't have to label it then either, do we? I wonder why you think, you know, now the majority, well, under 50% of people in the UK now declare themselves as Christian. Are people shamed? Are people worried about declaring themselves as Christian? Are people falling out of the love with religion, maybe in its traditional sense?
But maybe this is not so bad. You know why? Because in the sense that I speak about atheism, which is for me Christian atheism, the lesson of Christianity is God dies. Not only representative of God. God himself dies on the cross. What is left is we, a community with a firm commitment and so on and so on. And I think that most of people who call themselves Christians are still committed, unfortunately, to some kind of a pagan version, whereas there is God up there, we are here, and God sent a messenger, Christ. Okay, it didn't work, okay. My child come back to me, I will try again. No, no. Christianity is for me literally an atheist religion, and especially important again, a religion of commitment. It's not what you think deep into yourself. You know what you find in Christianity? A very deep insight that if I look deep into myself, I will not discover some inner truth and so on. I will discover probably a lie. Stories I invent to myself that legitimize the horrors I'm doing in actual life. For me, the truth is out there, like that series years ago. The truth is out there. The truth is not deep in you. That's for me the lesson of Christianity. Here Christianity is the opposite of all those Oriental meditation religions where they say, go deep into you. No, sorry, to use this vulgar word, if you go deep into yourself, you discover shit. We are all dirty deep in ourselves.
That's interesting. So let's talk about the second part to that question then, and the rise of the right wing in Europe, and also MAGA in the US. And I wonder whether, if we're less unified by religion, if we're less prepared to you know, say that we follow organised religion, traditional religion, if we talk about Christianity, etc., whether the rise of the right wing, whether the rise of the MAGA movement, Make America Great Again, whether that unifies us, whether we need a common cause, if we're not all following the Bible, if we're not all following Christianity, do we need another common cause? And is that why we've seen the rise of other...
we will not find it there, because, you know...
I know you won't, but do you think that's the reason why...
Yeah, okay. You know, once in United States, I gave an interview to a conservative commentator who asked me about moral majority. And my answer was, I'm totally for moral majority, but not for Trump. Trump is for me a model of a politician who preaches Christian values and so on. But look at how Trump acts. Isn't he, in his actions, the ultimate postmodern, relativist, cynical politician? He even doesn't believe himself. He changes his position all the time. He makes cynical, vulgar jokes and so on. So for me, Trump is the ultimate postmodern, cynical politician, while if there is any politician admitted in the United States, that's why I really like him, is Bernie Sanders. Isn't he a simple common man, never lost in any big rhetoric?
Yeah, very, very
he
clear.
Is, for me, the very notion of moral majority. My solution is the left should take over the terms of respect, peace, even law and order, moral majority. Why? We live now in a very dangerous time where in developed and third world countries, gang rule or illegal organizations are taking over. You read horrible news in Haiti these days. Gangs practically took over the state. And other countries like Salvador, all around, it is as if the system cannot any longer reproduce itself without subterranean links to illegal violent gangs. In the United States, it's the same. Trump and the Proud Boys and all those, half terrorist, half illegal organization. Unfortunately, in Israel, it's similar. Don't forget that now the Minister of State Security, Itamar Ben-Gvir, he was condemned by the Israeli court as a terrorist 20 or 15 years ago. So this worries me very much, and as a guy with whom I don't always agree, but sometimes he has good ideas, Yuval Harari said, today we live in a crazy world where the right wing took over the revolutionary rhetoric and activity. You remember 6th of January 2 years ago? A popular crowd tried to overtake power.
3 years ago, we should say.
Sorry, yeah. But you know what was the paradox? My leftist friends cried. They said, but we, the people, should be doing this. No. This vulgarity, brutality is now the domain of the right. And the left should discover common decency, civility, politeness, and so on.
But do you think, arguably, the left has less power and influence on that level? And I'm talking about, you know, the fact that Bernie Sanders was, you know, discussed, the left of American politics was discussed a lot in the 2020 election, certainly more than it is in the run-up to this one. In this country, we had Jeremy Corbyn lead the Labour Party. Now, that all went terribly wrong, but there was a definite nod to the left, to socialism. And now we have a very centrist Labour Party, a Conservative Party who are desperate to claim and identify with the right. And in America, you've had the centralist President Biden, and now, you know, again, you are leaning into the right with Donald Trump. So does this then, you know, leave out the liberal left? Does this mean they actually carry less influence?
I'm here pessimist, and I agree with my friend Yanis Varoufakis, who claims that the key to these events is something very tragic. The left, the moderate left, is losing because it is still obsessed. It's very conservative power, force, political force, because its dream is still, let's return to the golden era of social democratic welfare state. That's over. Varoufakis is right when he says that what we are having today is something that's problematic, but he calls it techno-feudalism. These mega corporations today, Apple, Amazon, and so on, they are no longer ordinary capitalist agencies. They are neo-feudal corporations controlling a certain domain. And this changes the entire picture.
Yes, controlling what
For
we
example,
see, the kind of
books,
news we
media,
intake.
Yeah. And here, so the problem is not how to counter capitalism. The problem is that capitalism is no longer the good old capitalism against which traditional social democracy worked relatively well. And you know what is so sad? That Trump knows this in some sense. He very intelligently uses this when he paints as the enemy the deep state, that is to say big corporations controlling us. He is simply up to a point right here. So I'm here totally opportunistic. I don't exclude anything. I'm even tempted to say that maybe at some strategic point the left should join forces with sorry to use this very naive term, small creative capitalists against big corporations. Yeah. We are now in such a suffocating pseudo-dynamic where everything changes, but the situation is getting more and more oppressive. Democracy is reaching an end, and especially, here I deplore the British Brexit. For me, in spite of all horrors that it did, I like the idea of European Union, which
Heyo! Heyo guys, good morning, brought my coffee upstairs. Heyo Chris, how are you doing? Yeah guys, the opinion of tankies. I was very interested in it, to be honest. Because I know they used to love Zizek. Well, let me turn on the camera. Okay, here we are.
Now they are putting all the pressure on Uyghurs. China is taking
Alright,
the West.
let me pause my man. But yeah, I know tankies used to love Zizek, and specifically I wanted to keep on wanting to go ask Zach what he thinks about this, but then it's always like I'm either at work or I'm streaming when he is streaming, so it's a shitty situation. I need to take a day off, like genuinely, just to go and spam other people's streams. But I know he used to be watching Slavoj a lot. Like he used to be watching Slavoj a lot, and it was actually in Zach's stream that I first expressed my saltiness over the amount of attention Slavoj was getting, which I was looking into recently. And yeah, it was because if you remember that one YouTube comment, I think that YouTube comment was perfect. The one that called him a Balkan taxi driver. Yes, that's been an issue with him from the start. It's that a lot of opinions that he has are opinions that you would hear from a random Balkan taxi driver. Like these are opinions that you just kind of hold as normal very often. In many situations he says something, he has these like little clips that are constantly being shared around, but when he says something, it's not that drastic, it's not that fresh of a perspective, it's not that new of a perspective, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. It's just interesting that someone with those views, you know, gets the title as, what was it, the most dangerous philosopher? But I think it comes from the place of me having the same biases as he has. So I consider his views kinda expected, because, you know, he is very much painted by the history of Yugoslavia and by the worldview that he gained living through it. So it's just the types of opinions that you see on these places very often, but it's not really something that you see very often in other, like what you would call communist spaces around. But yeah, it was in Zach's stream that I first was like, why is this man so famous? Like he just has normal views. And yeah, now I guess I see it in a way. I see that a person with Balkan normal views can get that sort of prominence when he gets outside in big world where his views are not considered as often seen as usual. If you ask him about communism, I do think it's gonna be very similar to Zizek. Now Now, if you ask them about certain other things, they're gonna differentiate in some topics. Specifically, if you dare to go into conversation on migrants, it's gonna differentiate. Talking about that, there's a rise of populism in Croatia, and you know what's their newest lie? You know what is their newest lie? That Croatia cannot train Ukrainian soldiers because that would be against our constitution. Is Ustav konstitucija? Yeah, constitution is the same thing. Basically, they have this lie that it would be against the constitution. Well, it wouldn't. The Constitutional Court of Croatia said that it wouldn't. The experts have agreed that it wouldn't. There's like no reason for it to be against the constitution. But if you read the Constitution of Republic of Croatia, there's one part in it that says that foreign armed forces are allowed to enter the territory of Republic of Croatia for training or exercise in accordance with international deals or as a part of an international organization. But when they mention the armed forces of other countries, they specifically mention armed forces of, I believe the English translation would be just ally country. Yeah, allied country. They say it has to be the armed forces of allied countries. And people are trying to say that an allied country to Croatia is only and solely a NATO country. So like Ukraine can't be it because it's not a NATO country. And it's the wrong reading of the constitution. I did lots of research into this. It's probably not that much interesting to you because it has like, it's completely dealing with Croatian internal affairs. But no, it's not true. It's completely wrong reading. It takes the definition of allied, like basically in Croatian it's država saveznica, saveznica, and when we talk about NATO, we say NATO savez, as if you say allied country, and then it would be NATO alliance. And then ally in both words, they try to connect it, even though it's not connected by the constitution or common sense. But they try to connect it. So they're like, oh, the only allied countries to us are countries in NATO alliance. Nothing else, which is wrong. Like according to experts on Croatian constitution, it's wrong. But they're trying so hard to present it to people differently because they know that many people are not going to read the constitution, even though you can find it online in like a second of Googling, but still. So, yeah, that's that. Change the no, the constitution is good. The constitution is good. What's the question about the constitution is basically, we had a big debate about whether or not, you know how it was when European Union started a mission, and the mission was like, hey, let's go and train Ukrainian soldiers on the territories of European Union member states. And then we had the chance to join the mission, and then we could have been going and, training Ukrainian soldiers on our soil, right? Now, you know the situation with our president, right? So we got Milanovic, let me show you Milanovic. We got Milanovic, who is a populist, trying to be the next Orban, very dangerous person in Croatian politics. Used to be the clown, used to be the haha clown, but now with his attacks on Croatian constitution, this man is genuinely dangerous. What I'm basically doing for the upcoming elections is trying to get people to vote against him. Vote for anyone else. I don't care how much corruption we have in the government. This man is genuinely dangerous. Like, genuinely attacking the constitution of Republic of Croatia itself, because he's not supposed to be allowed to run for the prime minister, because he can't be a member of a political party while he is the president. But he is ignoring that he can't be a member of a political party while he is the president of the state, because he wants to be the prime minister too. So he doesn't want to step down, which was demanded by the Constitutional Court of Republic of Croatia. He doesn't want to step down, he just wants to run. And then if he wins, he wins, and he's the prime minister, and if he loses, he's the president, which is obviously not allowed in that sort of a way. But this man is the president right now, and as the president, he has the way to control whether or not... Yeah, he looks very froggy in some images. He has a way to control what our armed forces do. So basically, if we are supposed to be training Ukrainian armed forces, that has to come in agreement with Croatian armed forces. And this is where the president has the jurisdiction. This is where he makes the decision. So European Union, as an international organization that Croatia is a part of, European Union started a mission of training Ukrainian soldiers. And by the Constitution of Republic of Croatia, this is supposed to be decided by... Wait, let me do the translations again, because I'm not entirely sure that I'm representing this properly without it. Vlada. Alright, so we have basically the government, led by this man, is supposed to make a decision. The government, led by this dude, is supposed to make a decision. Now, everyone else in the government was like, he's not normal. This man's a populist. This man's scared of the Russian bear. He's not a normal person. So what we're gonna do is we're going around him and we are taking, basically they kind of overturned a little bit the rules, because when he says no to something, what we have is the Croatian parliament has to get 2/3 agreeing with something, and we lacked 4 people. We lacked 4 people to be allowed to train Ukrainian soldiers, so we are not training them. If we had 4 more people in the parliament voting to train Ukrainian soldiers, we would have been allowed to. But the government was like, oh, this dude's not agreeing, so let's just go around it. And let's go and give the voting to the parliament, which also didn't agree. So a decision wasn't, changed at all. But this is where a lot of experts were like, we're not sure whether or not this is against the constitution, because they can't agree. It's European Union. I don't know if I should be drawing this out to you, but basically European Union, international organization Croatia is a part of. It starts a mission. Right? If we take part in this mission, we are taking part in a mission that started as a part of European Union. This is where the government and president should be deciding. But if we take part in agreeing to uphold an international agreement, this is where the parliament itself has to agree. So it doesn't have to ask the government and president also, it's just the parliament. So basically this is where they're not really... The constitution was written, let's say it wasn't meant for times like this, and it may need to be updated in certain places, but they are trying to have little fights over, was it even supposed to go to the voting in the parliament, or was it not supposed to go to the voting in the parliament? The decision didn't change, so we didn't do anything against our own rules. They're just not sure if this is a mission part of an international organization or if this is a new international deal that we have joined. And this is why when you Google, like, Croatian constitution, training Ukrainian soldiers, you have experts commenting on this. And you have lots of titles about them commenting on this. They're not saying that training Ukrainian soldiers would be against the constitution. They're wondering whether the constitution needs to be updated because it's not clearly defined who makes a decision when it comes to European Union starting something. Like, we don't know if that's an organization thing or a new agreement thing overall. But yeah, when you Google it, you get a lot of sources, and this gets people fully hyped up for the idea. When I say people, I mean people who follow this dude. It gets them fully hyped for the idea. Oh my man, look at this Orban dude. Gets them really hyped up for the idea that training Ukrainian soldiers itself would be an unconstitutional thing for us to do. So yeah, that's the drama in Croatia. That's the drama in Croatia right now. This is the same man, by the way. I don't know if I was bitching about this. I was bitching about this in Croatian to a bunch of people. I don't know if I was bitching about this in English. Oh, I think I was. But he said that immigrants are in Croatia against the law because, and I quote, today's immigrants are not even running away from a war. So they are here against the law because they're not even running away from a war. They just come into our country. Which obviously doesn't really make that much of a sense when said about immigrants. But it's an interesting thing when you try to have conversations about this with Croats, because I've attempted it a few times. IRL, I attempted it one time on Twitter. It wasn't a good decision, never went back. But I quote his words, and they're like, yeah, he said it well, because immigrants are not refugees. And I'm like, how does that response make sense in your head? Man goes, immigrants today are not running away from a war. So because they are not running away from a war, every immigrant in Croatia is here against the law. And then you go, oh yeah, immigrants are not refugees. How does that respond to his claim? You should explain it to that man. You shouldn't be explaining it to me, calling him stupid. You know, it's it doesn't really make lots of sense. But yeah, basically cheap, primitive populism, nothing more than that. Also, I saved a video on Orban, now that we're talking about the frog dude. I saved a video on Orban because there's something with corruption in Germany, sorry, in Hungary. I don't know how effective, maybe that's a word to say. I don't know how effective it's gonna be because they had protests previously for their president being a pedo defender and nothing really happened out of it. And I don't know, like in my head personally, if I had to rank a reason why we would be having bloody revolutions to overthrow our leadership, I believe that I would much rather us to go to a full-blown civil war over them being goddamn pedophilia defenders rather than them just being corrupt. But, you know, maybe Hungarians have a different way of figuring out what are their priorities. I don't really know. Also save this. Why is the day getting worse? Are you alright? Probably not. Is anyone alright?
Эй, вы же пожарник, почему не тушите пожар?
No, you gotta wait. Oh!
Эй,
Oh.
вы же пожарник, почему не тушите пожар?
Но я не могу.
Но почему это? Там же люди могут погибнуть.
Девочка, пока в здании террористы, я не могу выполнять свою работу.
Это точно. Чёртовы террористы. Эй, это что, ЛГБТ-символика у тебя на рюкзаке? А? Стой! Пора за работу, парни. Она не могла далеко убежать.
Fair. All school buses in Israel have to be bulletproof. Man, I saw a video of some protesters almost beating up a bunch of... Was it Israeli athletes? Oh, it was like a group. Fuck, where did I save it? I saved it somewhere. It was a bad, a horrible thing. They were like attacking the fence and everything. That was the only thing protecting like the kids from a bunch of angry people. Ridiculous. Mockery of the victims of a terrorist attacks. It's a mockery of FSB and the police, which did nothing. That's what it's mocking. They did nothing. Took them an hour and a half to come out to the scene. Are you insane? Are you insane? That's like saying that when you point out that, what was that American school shooting thing? Where they had the pussy-ass police standing in front of the school, knowing the shooting's going on inside actively, and they were standing outside. They were like, yeah, he's still active. He's still active, so guess we're gonna wait him to run out of bullets to lodge them all into kids' bodies, and that's when we enter. Yeah, we're just gonna wait a little bit. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. They didn't check the fucking building in 10 minutes, my dude. It took them a long ass time to get in. Are you insane? It took them a long ass time to get in. Valde, oh, it was that one with like videos of police just being outside. Man, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. Imagine that. Holy shit, yeah, FSB was fucking useless. FSB was fucking useless. But good thing that they suddenly remembered they gotta be effective when they caught the suspects really quickly after them killing a bunch of people. They got suspects really quickly, and then they electrocuted the dude's balls and cut off the other one's ears, stuffed it in his mouth. That was good. That one of them wheeled into the goddamn courtroom with a plastic bag still over his head. Yeah, I'm glad the FSB remembered to be effective right then. It's a proper Oh, goddamn primitives that they are. Thank you, Allah. How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? And then also I saved a video on this. Not sure why, but I saw a video from yesterday that was talking about tensions of Russians against the Tajik civilians, and I was like, let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on. Last time Spetsnaz was effective in anti-terrorist operation was when they also killed shit ton of civilians. Ah, we're talking about the theater crisis. Talking about the theater crisis. Man, we could be talking about the school too, the Beslan school siege, the one that I always forget yeah, Nordost, yeah. The name of the journalist. I never know how to pronounce it because I always want to pronounce it in the Croatian. With the wrong letters. I even have I've started a whole Obsidian thing on failed investigations of this attack in Russia. So I'll need to finish that. You're never gonna finish it, right? But I'll need to start having it on stream. Or, oh, here it is. Politkovskaya. I always want to say Politikovskaya, with another E, I don't know why. But she wanted to go, and she was twice prevented from going to report on Beslan school siege. And then, third time, finally allowed to go, she gets poisoned. 2 times she's prevented from going, 3rd time she wants to go, she gets fucking poisoned. My dude, the only thing FSB was effective at in all of these situations was the same thing they were effective in when they did the Moscow bombings. Fair. There is no way Spetsnaz unit hadn't known. You don't put unconscious person face up. Nah, that's... Man, why would they even do that though? What the fuck? I need to look into conspiracies surrounding that one. So far I only looked into the Moscow bombings conspiracies. That was an interesting bunch of information to stumble onto, to be completely honest. Oh no, food is okay. Food is, I love food. I love food very much. Please get me food. Please get me something. I need food. Stockpiled unconscious civilians face. Man, what the hell? Oh, what the hell? How are they so stupid? Oh, whenever you learn something about them, you're like, man, could they be dumber than this? Could they be dumber than this? It's like, I don't know. I don't know. They stockpile them face up in casualties. Man. I buy you food. I was like, food. No, I did read it. I just saw food. That's the important part. Leave me alone. I like food. I like food. I'm getting coffee today because I was kind of hungry. What did I want to? I want to see. Oh, should we look into the Russian one? I found, you know what I found? I was looking into the Moscow bombings. And I was like, let me look at the Russian one. Because I want to see if the Russian one is filled with, excuses made. It's not. It's not filled with excuses made. They actually point out some really interesting things, like the fact that Putin himself... wait, I need to open the file so I know the names of the cities. I always forget that one. Apartment bombings. All right, 22nd September, Ryazan incident. So a suspicious device resembling those used in bombings was found and defused in an apartment block. Putin praised the vigilance, like the day after, Putin praised the vigilance of the inhabitants of Ryazan. And you know what else he did? He was like, guys, thank you so much for saving a building in the city. Thank you so much. We've been victims of so many Chechen bombings lately, so thank you. You've saved so many of your brethren. And now I order the air bombing of Grozny. Start of the Second Chechen War, right after he goes and he thanks people for their vigilance in stopping the bombing in Ryazan. And then the FSB agents are arrested, and then the FSB director goes and he's like, oh no guys, our people actually weren't supposed to be arrested. They were just carrying sugar-filled devices around. It was supposed to be an anti-terrorist drill. They weren't supposed to be arrested. This was just an exercise. Release them. So they get released. And that's that. Found that on the Russian goddamn Wikipedia with their sources and everything. There's a lot of details in there. So I don't know who's updating that shit, but yeah, it's interesting. Prompt. What did they say about us? That we're going to attack Europe after Ukraine is complete nonsense. Bro, he's the one who said it. He's the one who said it. Oh, it's about... I see. Economy is sinking. Standard of living is falling. Oh, you know that Russians are thinking about a rise in taxes, right? To keep their war economy going. Yeah, what he's doing is just normal populist bullshit. Yeah, normal populist bullshit. Poor little people, you down there, you normal workers on the ground. Poor you, you're being used by your authorities. Oh, the deep state and the conspirators are trying to get as much of your money out as possible. Because they want to keep you down and they want to keep you controlled. Oh yeah, ridiculous, just ridiculous. We're actually doing quite alright in Europe lately. So yeah, man can stay bitching. We're possibly going to keep on giving even more money to Ukraine. When I say we, I'm trying to focus on Croatia a lot because it's really important for me that we keep on giving them cash. But man, like we're doing fine. That's another double. Oh, right, proper. Like one of them is good, the other one is bad. It's like in those crap horror novels. You know how you have like one enemy who is the bad one, and then the other one who is the good one, but they look exactly the same. And the plot twist at the end is figuring out that two people exist, and it's not just one person all of the time. It's gonna be like that. France announces that from now on they will export arms only to Ukraine. Nice. Oh. Whoa. Nice. Oh damn. Thank you, Frenchies. I guess more of us should be doing that. Why aren't we already doing that? Why are we not doing that? Nice. All right. Fair. Didn't expect that, to be honest. I didn't expect that at all. Oh, by the way, also something else that I have to tell you. I haven't seen any videos made on this yet, but there were conversations. I think it was also on Twitter. I've been using Twitter a bit way too much recently. Probably shouldn't be doing that. Hey, Yarikura, what are you doing? Been using it way too much, but for some reason there's like panic over Serbia doing something dramatic. It's not gonna be a thing. Dodik's supposed to get arrested. That's the bitchery about. There was like one singular post made by Vucic in which he's like, oh yeah, we have to go and fight. We have to go and defend Serbia. We have to go and, how was it? protect our country against the foreign violations. Yeah, he's talking about the fact that Dodik, who has nothing to do with Serbia, technically, legally, he's gonna get arrested. He's supposed to be arrested soon. So that's kind of that. That's kind of the whole conversation. Nothing really extra when it comes to that. Nothing's gonna happen. They're not going to war over
Теракт в
fucking Bosnia.
самолете Минводы Питер.
I
Выборы в
need
Российской
translations. I need translations.
Федерации.
I need
96
subtitles.
год. Теракт в Кизляре. Выборы в Российской Федерации. 2000 год. Теракт
Then
в
on
Москве
subtitles?
на
How the fuck do you
Пушкинской
do that?
подземке. Выборы в Российской
Oh,
Федерации.
captions!
2004
Not
год.
turned off.
Теракт в Беслане.
They're supposed to be
Выборы в
on.
Российской
Ah, here it
Федерации.
is.
2008 теракт в Владикавказе. Выборы в Российской Федерации. 2012 год. Теракт на Дубровце. Выборы в Российской Федерации. 2018 год. Террористический акт Керченского
Me writing
политехнического
this down.
института. Выборы в Российской Федерации. 2024 год. Теракт в Москве. Крокус-Сити. Закончи.
Выборы.
Молодец, смотри. 1991 год. Теракт в
Ah.
самолете Минводы Питер. Выборы в Российской Федерации.
All right,
96
I
год.
see, I
Теракт
see,
в
I see.
Кизляре. Выборы в Российской Федерации.
Given the amount of bots. No,
2000
but,
год. Теракт в Москве на Пушкинской в подземке.
true.
Выборы в Российской Федерации.
I cared some words
2004
though.
год. Теракт в Беслане.
I
Выборы
cared
в
some
Российской
words. I can't, when he's doing the
2008
whole...
Теракт в Владикавказе.
It's
Выборы
like, you
в
know when you
Российской
don't
Федерации.
understand like German properly, but you
2012
understand
год. Теракт на
something in
Дубровце.
German,
Выборы
and
в
then when a
Российской
German
Федерации.
tries to speak to you, and especially if there's like places mentioned in it, and you don't know if he's trying to say the name of the place or if he's trying to say a verb about what he was doing. Like it's easier when you read it because they have
Молодец, смотри. 1991 год.
capital
Теракт в
letters.
самолете Минводы
But
Питер.
when you
Выборы в
are
Российской
just
Федерации.
listening to it, is
96 год.
what's a
Теракт
verb
в
there?
Кизляре.
What's a
Выборы в
verb and what's a
Российской
noun and
Федерации.
what's a place name? I don't know.
2000 год.
That's me when
Теракт
I'm
в
listening to
Москве
that.
на
I have no
Пушкинской
idea
в
what he's
подземке.
saying.
Выборы
Like
в
the
Российской
hat though.
Федерации.
Правый
2004
геймерский
год.
момент.
Теракт в Беслане.
Говори
Выборы в
на-
Российской Федерации. 2008
Would you say it like that
теракт
too?
в
What's the difference there?
Владикавказе.
Would Ukrainian be the
Выборы в
same?
Российской Федерации. 2012 год.
My
Теракт на
neck
Дубровце.
photos in
Выборы
profile.
в Российской Федерации. 2018 год.
Fair,
террористический
see, I
акт
know
Керченского
that.
политехнического
I know that, I
института.
know that. But if you say it to me, like
2024 год.
verbally,
теракт в Москве.
I don't know what's a noun in it.
You own the moon.
I was
and
scared I'm gonna
Mars,
scroll down, there's gonna
and
be
everything
Destiny,
else in
and then we're
space.
gonna get banned.
Really? Call a space lawyer. They'll tell you about the Outer Space Treaty. It was born from the Cold War when countries were racing to space. It forbids any
Oh, flag,
from
is it?
taking
Oh,
over
the
celestial
down one?
bodies.
It's
Stuff in
the...
space is a common good, open to everyone, unlike the oceans.
Was
and
that Luffy?
skies, benefits us all. But
It's
what
the
if you
basic
own a
one.
rocket,
It's the
land on the
basic
moon,
one
and
that you
pick up
just
a
get
rock? Is
basically.
it your rock now? If you bring it back to Earth, can it become your private property?
The
It depends on who you
default
ask.
one?
The US
The
and
default
many
one you
others
get on the
following new
site.
rules. The Artemis Accords.
No Croatia.
They're designed to make room for space mining. You even get a safety zone around your landing site so no one can disturb your work. But what if you land on a spot someone else wants? What if your rockets completely cover an asteroid? It's still unclear what happens then. Russia and China have not signed the accords. There's no clear way to resolve disputes between everyone. So you'd better pay those lawyers' fees and get some good space insurance. You may lose your rocks, but at least you own the moon and Mars and everything else in space. Really? Call a space lawyer. They'll tell
I'm
you
in
about
fair.
the Outer Space
Fair,
Treaty.
fair, fair.
It was born from the Cold War when
Every
countries
single
were
Twitter
racing to
post.
space.
I'm not.
It forbids
I
anyone
wasn't
from
even
taking
using
over
Twitter until
celestial bodies.
yesterday.
Stuff in space
When
is a
looking into
common
the.
good, open to everyone and
Shut up. Looking into the Croatian institution bullshit. I wasn't really Serbian. Following what are the conversations going on there, but to be honest, they're not good. They're not good so far. They're not good. But also they're oh my man, what was that today's thing? There was something released today, and I don't remember the numbers. But Elon Musk wants to give free benefits to Twitter users who have, was it like more than a certain number of verified subscribers? Basically, there's gonna be 8 people getting the benefits, and in these 8 people getting these benefits, so like the free use of some services, there's gonna be Elon Musk. So it's like Elon Musk and 7 other people. That's that. That's like the extent of Twitter users that have, I think it was more than 25,000 confirmed subscriber accounts. So yeah, I guess the usership is really, really dropping. Kaži. Horvatsko, yeah. Adjective too, but in different case. But no, wait, but Serbian. Sorbski. Wait. File this. What is that? Oh shit, wrong browser. Oh, the list? You gave me the list? Is that everything he mentions in the video? It is? Nice! Surprising all is quiet? 2012? Why? Is it because they had the biggest anti-Putin protest at the time? So he didn't dare to poke it? He was like, nah, I gotta be peaceful. I gotta be peaceful for 1 year. Because this was when Nemtsov was doing his protest, wasn't it? 2012 was the biggest protest against Putin that Moscow has ever seen. And it still was a tiny protest. But it was the biggest one against Putin that Moscow has ever seen. So I'm guessing it had something to do with that. I'm guessing they were planning to like kill his opponents at the time. I'm guessing they had more important shit to do, didn't they? Yeah, definitely was that. Winter Cherry. I know nothing about Winter Cherry though. Don't know that. They also didn't have a war to fight. They didn't have a war to fight, did they? They didn't have a war to fight at the time. When did they start preparing for Georgia? Because I know the blackmail over Ukraine started way back in at least 2006, which is when Poland started being angry about Russia trying to force Ukraine to stay in its area of influence, and the West wasn't doing shit about it. I wonder when they started about Georgia, because I'm guessing they also, like, they had huge anti-Putin protests, and they also didn't have a war to fight at the time, because they finished up with Georgia 2008, right? And they were like, all right, we finished with Georgia, Ukraine's under our ally, so he's going to keep it, close to us. So I don't really need to send men to go and die somewhere. It's not like anyone's moving away from our power. Ho ho ho. I'm guessing it's that. That's my theory. Kosovo. Russian propaganda. I was a Ukrainian from Red Army, but they're presenting him as one of their own. Of course. Not surprised at all. Sup, Draco, how's life going? Russian in advance allowed it either because of the struggle of towers of influence or the underestimation of the scale of what could happen. Explanations appeared who accused me personally that Ukraine did all this. That's nonsense. If we touched on this painful issue, even though this is the enemy, I do not approve in principle of terrorist acts against civilians. Fair. Struggle of towers of influence makes sense to me. I don't think they underestimated it. I don't really think they cared enough to underestimate it. But yeah, I see it. Also, Budanov's not gonna kill civilians. Budanov's going for one singular person, entity, organization, and it is whoever poisoned his wife. So I very much doubt he would go in for like random ass civilians. If this man was in Moscow, you would see like, let's say around a dozen people just blow up at the same time, horrifically in different locations. That's how you're gonna know Budanov's in Moscow. It's not gonna be some shit like that. This is useless. Homo Americans. Pritila or Stenenko to open donations from all battle Tajiks. No, they already mistreated very, very severely. They already mistreated very, very severely. So I hope not, but it's been interesting. It's been interesting. I've seen, I don't know if you've seen ISIS posting about attacking other Oh man, it's so sad that Russell though is a part of this group. Makes me so sad. He was so funny previously. Like for a while he was genuinely entertaining, and then he just went, I don't know, became a drug user, whatever's wrong with him. Oh, he was a drug user and then he recovered and I guess he went back into using drugs. I forgot where I was though. I forgot where I was. Bortnikov and Petrusha already hiding in the deepest hole after this accusation? Nah. I very much. I mean, if they had something... if they had something specific... I'm still trying to say, look, if they had something to do with attempting to poison him and everyone around him and then successfully poisoning his wife, they're gonna get fucked in the ass. But I think if they didn't have any sort of a hand in it, for a while at least, they're not gonna be the priority. Booty Warrior, this guy put in the Booty Warrior. March 28th. Who did we send? Gonna send me. I want Jana, we can do this the easy way, we can do this the hard way. Put in, it's Trump. They're gonna say the Trump himself. Because that sounds very much like him. Way proper. Also, let me show you my videos, because I saved a bunch of videos. Let me show you my videos. But, yeah, overall,
This video was brought to you
we
by
got to the
Brilliant.
point. Alright, no need to circle jerk around it more, I think.
This video was brought to you by
Sad that an attack like that has happened on civilians. At the same time, faults within the leadership must be looked at, and I very much don't think they will be. Because, man, I think they're gonna use it. You know how in America, when you people had the... Who mentioned it? Uvalde school shooting, right? Uvalde it was. You know how after that, then there were conversations about how a good man with a gun can't stop an evil man with a gun anyways? And at the time, the response of politicians was like, oh, you're just trying to ban guns. You're using these kids' deaths to ban guns. That is horrible from you. You're just using these kids for your own agenda. Let's not fall into that same shit when it comes to criticizing the response of Russian authorities. And by Russian authorities, of course, I also mean FSB, in responding to this tragedy. You can and should be using this as a way to criticize the response, because the response was inexcusable. The response was inexcusable, right? If people care about the casualties at all, they should care about what led to them being created in the first place, so it could be stopped from happening again, because again, ISIS did a little threat of attacking more European capitals recently. So I think we all could learn to behave more seriously when faced with a threat like that. Now I gotta click on this. Swiss banks closed accounts of Russian clients with less than 1 million. Ridiculous. Now they're checking not just the presence of a permit or Swiss passport, but also whether clients make money and pay taxes in Russia. Switzerland, while it was a neutral country in the World War II, Switzerland was also a country offering a lot of, let's say, financial safety to Nazis. So I think Switzerland is just trying to do the same exact shit. Good move, not good enough move. They can get fucked.
by Brilliant. On Friday, 4 Tajik Islamists
What's the
carried
point?
out
Like
a
they want...
mass
How is
shooting-
that comment? They want to prevent the money flow. They want to prevent money from flowing to Russia. So you're preventing specifically accounts with less than 1 million from flowing money into Russia, but the ones that have more than 1 million, they're GG with flowing money into Russia? Or are we assuming they're not flowing it into Russia at all because they have so much of it, and Russia is in the shit state it is in right now. Like, what is the assumption being made here?
In Moscow, apparently on behalf
I don't
of
understand the
ISIS.
cutoff, and I don't agree with it.
International media has since focused on how this might affect Ukraine. Within Russia, nationalist commentators have already started blaming Putin's conspicuously liberal immigration policies, which have always been controversial within Russia. So in this video, we're going to explain Putin's surprisingly liberal immigration policies, why they've always been controversial, and why, in this light, Friday's attack is so politically dangerous for him. Before we start, if you haven't already,
Refugee is not much.
and ringing the bell,
Could probably work or
to stay in
something.
the loop and be notified when
Like
we
coming
release
home in
new
taxi,
videos.
where from?
Let's start with a bit of context.
What's
After
home?
the collapse of the Soviet Union in the
Where
90s,
away
there
from
were
home
massive
are they?
migrant flows both in and out of Russia. In 1991, for instance, an astonishing 4 million people immigrated into Russia, and a similar number emigrated. At the time, the immigrants were mainly Russians in other parts of the USSR returning home, while the immigrants were mostly ethnic minorities from other former Soviet states
OnlyFans could be that
returning to
too.
their home countries. While some, about
Could be that
30%
too.
of these
It has to
immigrants
be
were
either
actually
it's like
non-Russians coming from other parts of the former Soviet Union,
proper money
mostly
budgeting,
from Central Asia.
or
These
it's
immigrants were mostly trying to flee the political turmoil that accompanied the Soviet Union's demise.
personal
Russians actually
finances.
very happy to let them in
So
part
work,
because
proper
there was a
work,
sense in the
freelancing
Russian
work,
political
something
class
has to
that
be
former
something.
Soviet citizens should be allowed to choose which country they ended up in.
But to be fair, I'm a man. Look, this is gonna be, but I kind of discriminate against the rich nations when it comes to that. And I don't know how like your financial situation is compared to Ukrainians. I don't know how the finances go there. But I know that when you have our people coming to live and work in, so far I know people who live and work in Slovenia or Austria or Germany. Germans will very often be bitching about, like for example, my father, he cooks proper food daily. Like he makes a fucking meal. Man makes a meal, alright? So Germans, his German co-workers, when he started working, they did have, let's say, comments about the fact that this man makes a full fucking meal daily on the same paycheck, because they were all minimum wage at the time, and he for a while even had like the helper paycheck, so he had less than minimum. It wasn't a lot less, but it was less than minimum. So they were bitching about, why can he make a full fucking meal daily on the same paycheck as them, and they're like eating, shit like ramen and bullshit like that. And it's because he's just smart at shopping. He's smart at shopping and he's smart about growing his own food. I think it's something that happens when you grow up in interesting financial situations, let's say it like that. I don't know the situation of your Ukrainian refugee, obviously, but in lots of situations where I've had complaints like that, the complaints were coming from the lack of understanding that some people are just better with money. Some people are just better with money. Like for a while we had a situation where my mother was the only one working. It was me going to school, my brother going to school, my father being unemployed. We still had a full fucking course meal daily on our tables. We had all of our clothes, we had all of our books for school, we had everything. Like we were never lacking in anything. It's just because sometimes you're better at spending money. Sometimes you learn, how to follow when something's on sale. You learn which types of ingredients make for cheaper cooking, shit like that. And then you can afford to get yourself a taxi or whatever, especially if like getting a taxi daily is, for example, cheaper than trying to actually get a car, whatever would be her option number B. You know what I mean? So I think some people are just better with cash money. And from the example of my father, I know that sometimes people will try to imagine some sort of questionable ways to get extra cash. When it's just about him just being really good with money. Like he's genuinely good with it. He gets those, he has 3 different stores in his nearby location, because he lives in basically what's a little city in Germany. So there's 3 different supermarkets in his nearby location. He gets those little catalogs from all of these, and then he just follows what's on sale, and he gets fresh produce that's the cheapest. whenever he needs it. Like it doesn't require a lot of cash money, it's just smart spending. If you're a lazy spender, you're gonna spend twice as much money as he spends on trying to get a proper meal. So, what I'm saying is that I'm not sure you can judge someone's financial situation based on just observing it from the outside. Also, I feel like people from richer nations are kind of bitches. So they're kind of bitches. It reminds me of Americans constantly complaining about like how expensive it is to get food delivered to their doorstep, but then if they actually like went in and took a taxi, for example, if you take a goddamn Uber or one of these shits and you go and you take the food and you bring it to your own place yourself, it's sometimes gonna be cheaper than just getting the delivery. Like, come on, my dude. Come on. Oh, I saw parts of the DoorDash versus frozen food. That was also ridiculous. I also saw them doing the whole thing with like whether it's cheaper to buy food that's already like pre-produced and you just heat it up, whether it's cheaper to do that or if it's cheaper to go and buy what's the word? There's a word for this. What's the word? Like the ingredients and then make the food yourself. And the arguments for that were also ridiculous. It was just... And then also there's some things that you can always hack. Let's call it hacking. Because what my father does, for example, is that when it comes to certain spices, he will buy some like vegetables or some plants depending on what he needs, and he plants them and he has them in his windowsill in those little pots. He had those little cherry tomatoes for a while, growing, stuff like that. You just have like a little garden and then you get it for free. It just grows there and you get it for free. And when it comes to stuff that you don't really need a lot, but that it's more just an additional thing that you put on your food as an extra, you can just do that and it's cheap and you don't have to buy it, because usually when you would buy it, like, what are you gonna do with, I don't know, here it goes for I think half a kilo of those little cherry tomatoes. Who the fuck needs half a kilo for one meal? No one. And they go bad in like a day. If you have them on a plant, you can use them a few times. So, what's Jake doing? Mir will not be available on Samsung's mobile payment service starting next week. Now already though. Now already. I thought South Korea was our ally. It took them a while. Took them a while, but thank you. By the way, I got no radio notification, I think. Did we have a raid? Because I got no notification at all. In chat. I don't look at my stream notifications. Maybe I should. Samsung Pay is the third digital wallet service to remove Mir after Apple Pay and Google Pay cut ties with the Russian payment system. Based. Thank you, Samsung. ANCAP. Do you think USSR could have defeated Germany alone? Of course not. I don't think USSR thought it could defeat Germany alone. I don't think they could do it. Though I like this very anime thing of them being friends turned enemies. Loving that. If you have 5 to 10 amount of median salary for your country, then why even bother with cooking? Unless it's for aesthetic reasons. Yeah, I understand that. Too. Definitely, yeah. Like if you have lots of cash, yeah, but then I assume people with lots of cash are not really people bitching about, the prices of food getting delivered to their doorstep. I assume if you have 5 to 10 times the amount of median salary for your country, I don't really think you go on Twitter to be like, man, I had to pay extra to get this pizza straight to my doorstep. I don't think you're one of those. I think it's the poor ones who like to get bitchy. I don't even think the rich ones, the properly rich ones, would be giving a shit about these like little Twitter debates, to be honest. Last stream? Yeah. Last one this month, because this month is this week. Still. So this is the last one this week, and then for the next week we will have to go. I don't know when I work. I have no idea when I work. Like, I'm still very lost in the planning, let's say it like that. FABs. Oh shit. Ukraine is almost depleted of air defenses. Man, horrible, just horrible. Why Americans laugh about delivery costing so much? It doesn't make sense to spend $40 on delivery or $20 on cab when we can just drive there ourselves for less than $1. I think that also though depends on... I think it depends on your alternatives and how overall cheap and money effective the alternative is, right? Like you can drive yourself there, sure, but for some people having a car itself is a waste of money. So then it's like, because I know people who use taxis, mostly city people. I know people who use taxis to go to the stores and to go to the doctors and shit like that. And it's because, you know, it wouldn't really be something that they would require a car for. Because when they go to big shopping, they get a taxi, but they go to small shoppings like almost daily. And there's always some tiny store nearby or whatever that you don't really need a drive to. So I think it's really about the situation. I think it's mostly that, like, you know, if you see that the delivery costs, let's say $40, even $20 extra, if you see that the delivery costs $20 extra, and you pay for that shit, I feel you're already in a tax bracket that I can't really be resonating with, and I don't take your bitchery seriously, because when it comes to people of my tax part, I feel they would see $20 on delivery and they would just be like, yeah, I'm gonna walk or I'm gonna get public transport, but I'm gonna reach the destination where they make this food in a different way. I ain't paying that much. Using a taxi 2 times a month is still cheaper than buying a car. Definitely, yeah, definitely. So for some people it makes sense, you know. So for some people it's like, why would you get a car? And then you gotta, like, I don't know how it is in your countries, but here, for example, every year you gotta take it to get tested, and that's really expensive. That's really, really, really expensive, all right? So if you define a NATOist the way I would define a NATOist, I think we're GG, because we are very pro NATO here. So that's GG, that's GG. Delivery cost is abysmal. And I'd rather work whilst my shit is being delivered and use my free time to play games or have a walk. Yeah, that's also fine. That's also fine. I just, you know what I'm trying to say? I think we're kind of like understanding the point of all of this, right? I don't think you can gauge someone's financial situation just based on like observing stuff like this. You don't know how money effective they're actually being. You can't guess it from just observing what they do. You don't know if this is the most effective option for them. You don't know how much money they have, how much money they have saved up, especially. So it can't really be something done out of observation, really. Cars are gay, I agree. You haven't been to America, it's all cars, dude. Oh yeah, the big cities. I'm in USA though. USA is kind of messed up, because I remember, the Twitter was really, really big into this for a while. The fact that like American cities are not built to be used for walking. So you have a lot of places in the city where basically you just need a car if you want to go to reach a supermarket, for example. You can't walk to it, right? Here, what we have, like the biggest city close to me is Osijek. What I love doing in the city is I hate driving. I hate driving in the city. I love driving outside, open road, shit like that. I hate driving in the city. I despise cities. So when I need to sort out some paperwork and buy some groceries, I usually go and I park at the first easy parking spot that I can find in the city. So for example, you enter and there's one shopping mall, there's There's one gym. Croatians are fat people, right? We have lots of obese people. Gym, parking spots usually empty. But there's a few spots when you enter the city that are available for parking. So what I love doing is I park there and I just walk. And it's like, sometimes it's a 30-minute walk in one direction. I think the longest one from like one part of the city to the other part of the city that I ever did was 45 minutes, which still for me it's all right. I would much rather do that than drive around. But it's possible to walk, and every single destination that I need, like I can walk to it. And I've heard USA can't really do that. So I understand that you people are a bit messy about that shit, you know, and I understand you're a bit messy about that. I don't know how I would survive that. Used cars in the US are like 2K for something that runs but isn't nice. Spending 200 plus a week every week for a taxi seems way worse. But wait, aren't you assuming, how many taxi drives are you assuming someone has to take to be spending $200 plus a week every week? Like, are we assuming they go for groceries daily? It's relatively far away? How much would you even need to be driving? Worst part of Yugoslavia? Define worst. Define worst. But Croatia is doing well. Croatia is doing well. Croatia is fine. Slovenia is fine. Montenegro is fine. Now. There's some questions about the rest. But like we here are doing fine, genuinely. Croatia is doing alright. I don't think I ever lived further than 1 kilometer from a grocery store. Yeah, it's... That too. I guess if you're like... If I take you and I drop you into any part of the city, it's gonna be like... Yeah, not really that far away. I walk to the grocery store. But then also, I guess not really far away is defined differently by different people, right? So for some people, 1 kilometer might be actually like a problematic walk to take. I work in retail, for example. You guys know I work retail in a village. And there's a lot of really old people who come to the shop. Really old people. And like, we have a few people who have health issues, who are younger but have health issues. And it's genuinely hard for them to come to the store. Like, they do still come to the store, but it's really, really hard, and they can carry a limited amount of stuff. And then if you need your household to be running, especially if you're living with someone else that you need to be taking care of, like, you need a certain amount of food, you need a certain amount of produce, you need stuff to be washing dishes with, you need enough toilet paper, you need a lot of shit to keep the household going. And it's really hard sometimes for people to get all of that, to walk to the store, to get all of that, and to bring it home. And then it's like, there's this one specific grandma, for example, who's gonna be coming like 3 days a week. And every time she comes, she takes a smaller amount of things. She lives alone, so it's just her, the household is just her. So she comes 3 days a week, and then every time she gets something that she can carry. But this means that 3 days a week she has to go down from a fucking mountain, she has to go into the shop, and then she has to climb up, right? And then there's other ones who like come here 1 time per week or like 2, depending on the size of the household, but they take a lot of bags and it's so hard for them to carry it. But then like for a few days you don't have to be coming to the store, you can just stay at home because you have everything to keep it running. So it's often calculations like that people have to be making when it comes to doing their daily shopping that I think is a much different life than when you compare it to, you know, yourself very likely being young and healthy, and when we talk about your walks to the grocery store, you're likely buying stuff that you are able physically to carry without like fucking collapsing down the doorstep. So yeah. see people talking about how they want to live closer to grocery stores. In the UK, currently the Conservative Party are going full in on the anti-15-minute cities conspiracy. Oh yeah, the whole 15-minute cities in the first place thing, it's idiotic to me. Because I remember seeing someone posted at one point on Twitter the image of Dubrovnik. And people were arguing whether Dubrovnik is a 15-minute city or not. Like this is Dubrovnik, right? And you had people being like, oh yeah, this is a 15-minute city. Oh no, it's not a 15-minute city because if it wasn't built with the intent of being a 15-minute city. Oh no, it is actually a 15-minute city because you can reach every part of it in 15 minutes. I think that the sentence 15-minute city, the sentence itself, the term itself, I think it brings out the dumbest people in any conversation. I think it's gotten to the point of where it's so often used for conspiracies that you can't even say it without dragging the trash out. Because like usually if you ask people a question, hey, would you like a supermarket to be built close to you? So you can just like walk to it without an issue and you don't need to hop in a car every time you want to go to a supermarket. I feel every single person would be like, yeah, of course. It would be so much easier. Yes, of course. Like if I need something really, really urgent, it's not even that urgent. Like I want to be making some pizza. And it's, let's say, 3 in the afternoon. So it's like rush time in the city because people are going from work. And I really want to be making some pizza. For me to sit my ass in a car and to drive to the nearest supermarket, there would be 25 minutes of pain. There would be pain, all right? Versus just me like putting on my jacket and going out to the grocery store. You know, every normal person would be like, yes, of course I want it nearby. But you don't ask them, hey, do you want a supermarket nearby? You ask them, hey, do you want to be living in a 15-minute city? And it brings out the imbeciles. The term itself is like, I'm trying to avoid it. You can walk around Bizovats whole day. That too. You don't need cars for that shit. That's proper. Wait, why did I see something about Belarus? Why did I see something about Belarus? Belarus. Oh, this? Belarus. German NATO force is unusually deployed near Lithuania, just 2 kilometers from Belarus border, as Belarusian armed forces ramp up combat readiness. Belarus has an atomic weapon that Russia gave them. They want to attack a country with atomic weapons. We don't really know what they want. I believe they do want to cause some tension. I don't believe Belarus is going to do something. Lukashenko, as much as he is an idiot, he knows Putin doesn't care about him, and he knows Putin doesn't care about Belarus itself, which to Lukashenko doesn't really matter as much as Putin not caring about Lukashenko himself, not giving him the place of, what was it, a general or something? So I think Lukashenko is not stupid enough to go and fight a war on behalf of Russia. I don't think he's stupid enough to do that. Why the emphasis on Belarus? Why didn't they write they were gathering troops near the Ukrainian border? It's because Belarusian armed forces are the ones creating the tension in the first place. Imagine being in the Belarusian armed forces. Bro, just leave. The idea of China that every resident should have all the services in the area 15 minutes walk from his home. Yeah, I feel so it makes sense. It makes sense as the idea. It's just that when you give the name to it, when you give the name to that term, that's when you create the conspiracy theories. That article that some UK publisher put out and then it goes to North America and Australia. The people who don't have an issue with places being car, personal vehicle dependent cried about it limiting freedom of movement, as if making pedestrian hostile infrastructure doesn't limit freedom of movement. Yeah, those conversations. Oh, I actually saw... Which street was it? There was a street somewhere. Was it in France? that recently went viral on Twitter, but it's like Twitter, so try not to use it too much. But it went viral because the street, it was like a proper city street, you know, with lots of cars. The first image is like the street, and there's cars parked on the side, and then there's cars driving in the middle. And then they're like, hey, look at the same street, but like, I think this was like pre-COVID, and then during COVID it was closed for car traffic, and then after COVID it just stayed closed. And now it's just like a pedestrian street, and there's people walking around, and there's like shops, you know, having produce outside and everything like that. Kind of cute. And it was interesting to see the amount of people actually salty about the fact that like cars can't be allowed to drive down the street. It was so weird. It's such a weird thing to watch. Lukashenko is just a puppet? Yeah. As soon as Putin feels like it, he's dead, definitely. And the worst thing is that Lukashenko himself acknowledged this back in 2016. Was it 2016 or was it 2018? When Lukashenko did his first ever speech in Belarusian. First ever speech as the president of Belarus. First ever speech in Belarusian, because he was offended, because he understood that Russia wants to destroy Belarus as a country. Russia just wanted to be controlling Belarus, but didn't want to be allied with it. So he got angry at Putin, he did a speech in Belarusian, he was trying to do Belarusian autonomy, basically. But what happened then is Belarusians weren't really okay with living under a dictator, because they saw Lukashenko as very similar to Putin himself, so they did protest against him, and Lukashenko couldn't actually be keeping his grasp on power, so, you know, he needed some aid from Putin at the time. And then Putin, I believe the exact quote was that despite their differences and despite the fights that the two of these had, Putin is going to be ready to come and aid Lukashenko if he is having to battle in a coup attempt on him, which was heavily implied to be the result of Westerners trying to overthrow him. Who did the Russian attack? Oh, ISIS took responsibility. So ISIS took responsibility, ISIS published the videos, it's ISIS. Lukashenko runs for president of Russia. Huh? No, bullshit. Anyone who opposes Putin in any way is that depends on how in what way you oppose him. Because he has been allowing some sorts of opposition to be going around, mostly allowing it in harmless ways though, so jailing them or something. But he has allowed some sorts of opposition to be running around. Think of Nadezhdin, right? Nadezhdin is anti-Putin. He's not anti-war, he's anti-Putin, but he's allowed to live. Nadezhdin is allowed to live because he's not dangerous. He is never going to be any sort of a danger. False flag by Putin to escalate the war. I think the way I'm seeing it, I think the false flag theory can be applied to Russia allowing it. I think Russia fully allowed it, and I think they intend to use it to mobilize the population. I don't think Russia actively did it, but I do think they knew, and I do think they allowed it. You know what I mean? Like, at first we had theories of like, oh, was it the FSB agents? And at first it made sense, because, you know, of the apartment bombings and everything. And you're like, yeah, maybe it's just FSB agents. But with ISIS taking responsibility, and especially when first they took the responsibility, I didn't really know what to think about it for a while, so I didn't really buy it fully. But then when the videos were published, I think that's where for me it was like, oh, all right. So it was actually ISIS. It was actually ISIS doing it. But I do think Russia allowed it, and I do think they knew what was going on. So I don't think Russia staged it as much as I think that Russia knew about it and allowed it to happen. So yeah, that's also why it makes perfect sense considering the fact that FSB took way too long to respond to the attack. Makes a lot of sense according to the fact that there's no fucking trial. And it makes a lot of sense considering the fact that Putin is trying to use it to lie about Ukrainian involvement into it. Like, he knew it was going to happen, and he was like, all right, when it happens, I'm gonna use it for my military campaign. When it happens, no wait, they call it specifically war right now, don't they? Peskov, I think, called it a war. But he was like, yeah, when it happens, I'm gonna use this for my war effort. So whatever happens, because he knew his ass was safe. He knew he's not going to get attacked. He knew no one he cares about is going to get attacked. It's gonna be Russian civilians. Man doesn't give a shit about Russian civilians. So, yeah, he was alright. He was alright with it. I think they're just insanely incompetent and understaffed. I kind of think they allowed it. Because I do think that because of the lies that were immediately peddled, like with Putin saying that the attackers had a window prepared to cross over to Ukrainian border. They said that they had a window prepared to cross over, and then they didn't. And then there was the truck, if you remember, immediately when the attack happened, there was the truck on the parking lot that they claimed had Ukrainian license plates, that they also tried to use to push this into the idea of Ukraine being responsible, and then it wasn't Ukrainian license plates in the first place, it was Belarusian ones. So for me, it screams, oh, I was waiting for a chance to use this to blame it on Ukraine. Because if it genuinely shocked him, I don't know if they would be so quick on acting in every possible way to blame Ukrainians. But also, we are talking about Russia, so possible. Oh, Skada is a grifter, so, you know what I mean. I think he has to give you shit because he has to keep the illusion of actually believing in shit that he is eating. I don't really think Skada is the type of a person to, honestly examine his beliefs and then pick the most logical one. That's the way I'm seeing it. Called it was a false flag. I do think, though, the way Skada could be bitching about that is that, I don't know, I think Kim is correct in pointing this out, that the definition of a false flag might be that technically it needs to be organized by Russia specifically. So technically, if they just knew about it happening and allowed it, but didn't organize it specifically, you could say that it can't be called a false flag, right? Now, I don't know the definition. We could look up the definition. Act committed with the intent of disguising the actual source of responsibility and pinning blame on another party. Act committed with the intent of disguising the actual source of responsibility and pinning blame on another party. Huh. No, the outcome is the same. I do agree with that. It's just that you are on Twitch. You're in political spaces online. You will have lots of people arguing from the point of semantics. You will have people arguing from the point of semantics. So, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that sometimes when people make an argument, someone will point out the weakest part of this argument in an effort to try and go fight against it. If that makes sense, right? So he can't argue with the fact that Russia had to allow this somehow, because it's very obvious that the response was ridiculous, right? For example, Putin lying about the attackers going to Ukrainian border. Very obviously a lie, right? Very obviously a lie. But Skada is not going to fight you on that. He's not going to fight you on that because he knows he can't fight you on that. So what he does is he goes and he takes the semantics part of your argument that he is trying to focus on, because he knows in this one the definition is vague enough for him to have something to be bitching on, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not trying to fight you. I'm just telling you that, like, when it comes to your use of words, he probably analyzed where's the safe spot to attack, and he attacked that. Displacing accountability. Yeah, like that. Now that I think about it, though, like the fact of lying about Ukraine being responsible, what is that? Act committed with the intent of disguising the actual source of responsibility and pinning blame on another party. Because, like, I still feel the definition is, like, weird enough for it to fall here. Oh, Yugoslavia and USSR for a while had a really close connection. For a while, because we saw ourselves as basically the communist brothers. And, you know, then we really didn't. But the cultural closeness still remained. The cultural closeness still remained, even though we saw them as pieces of shit, specifically Stalin. Man, Stalin was hated. False flag attack would mean ISIS didn't commit it, Russia did. Yeah, that too. Unless maybe you make a theory where Russia paid the terrorists. That is a possibility, but then that's going a bit too much into conspiracy level, at least for me, personally. It's going a bit too much into conspiracy level. Wait, where were we on this? I wanted to click on something and I forgot on what. But yeah, overall, yeah, I've got no idea if you could use it as a, if you could describe it as a false flag or not, really. I'm not fully sure, based on the definition, that you couldn't or could. Why is that big? I saw a big message and then I was like, what is that? Ukrainian army soldier in a forest near Russian lines. CIA support a network of spy bases. What? Oh man, I saw this in a lot of crap streams mentioned. Oh nice, you just copied it from somewhere. I can't even open the links. Fucking great. Fucking great, my man copy pasted it. I mean, fair, alright, proper. That's fair, I guess. That's fair. No, look. The fact that we did not have Russians as a part of our industry makes Yugoslavia superior to USSR or one. We were like already doing better. What do I tell you? Hey, yo, man, how are you doing? Was Ukraine and Georgia qualified for the orders? Yeah, I saw. I was happy. That was great. Man, that was a great piece of news, wasn't it? Asshole with too many dollars, noticing that the dollar was losing its value, with massive printing going on in America, and hoping they could provoke a war to get to use more of their sellout dollars. What? Wait, are you still talking about the attack on Russia? Who's the asshole we are referring to? Then I talk about ISIS in the United States. United States said that they knew who the criminals were. When the criminals have not yet been caught. No, they haven't said that. The criminals were caught 9 to 12 hours after the attack. And the United States, 30 minutes after the terrorist attack, began a series of statements that terrorists know who. What are you saying about? The USA warned Russia days in advance that an attack is going to happen, that they have intel that the attack is going to happen. Russia mocked these warnings. They hired terrorists over social media. I mean, are we thinking ISIS goes and hires people over social media? Which it could be a thing that they organized. I remember something about like a Telegram channel about it being published. It could be a thing that they all did have conversations in a Telegram channel about it, definitely. But also, guys, it's ISIS. ISIS is quite organized when it comes to this, all right? ISIS is quite organized. I don't really think a lot of the what's the word? Conspiracies are needed when it comes to that. Nobody trusts their enemies when it comes to this. Sure, nobody trusts their enemies. I do understand that. But we are talking about a situation where an attack has happened in a country which has had a huge terrorist attack basically every time it needed mass mobilization. We're talking about a country that saw a huge terrorist attack on itself and immediately responded by peddling lies about Ukrainians being responsible for it. We're not talking about a normal situation when it comes to that. But yeah, the United States, I wonder where you get the idea of United States saying that they knew who exactly the criminals were. I do wonder where you got that idea from. Shaman concert? Man, that would be ridiculous. Actual picture of the human rights activists. Putin killed them all. He pardoned the man who killed Politkovskaya because he agreed to kill more innocents in Ukraine. Fucking great. Just fucking great. Incredible. Incredible. False flag side or the ISIS side? I'm saying that, I'm saying it's very likely ISIS did it, considering the fact that they released videos of them doing it. I think it was ISIS. I think Russia knew about it too. I think Russia knew that it's going to happen. I don't think they didn't take the warning seriously. I think they knew. Like, considering the fact FSB took so long to respond, considering the fact that the attack was immediately used to blame Ukrainians and is still being used to blame Ukrainians, despite the fact that the both the van with Ukrainian flags bullshit and the idea of a prepared window over the crossing with Ukraine, both of these lies were immediately debunked, but they're still being used and pushed into the space. I think Russia wanted to use this attack on itself as a way to get more people to go into the war. How is it to transport them from Ukraine? Why would they need to be transported from Ukraine? Why would you, how does that make any sense? This is like when Putin said they had a window prepared to go over to Ukraine. That is the best protected border Russia has at the time. Why would you transport them from Ukraine? Like, if you needed to transport weapons to Russia, why would you transport them from Ukraine? From Ukraine. Out of all the countries. It makes no sense. It's nonsensical. ISIS did it, Russia let it happen to benefit from it, to push for Ukraine narrative. Yeah, for me that makes the most sense. I don't think it was an inside job. Yeah, I don't think Putin was in on it, but I think he didn't care to stop it. Russia knew about the attack and intentionally let them through. I think Russia knew that an attack was going to happen. It doesn't necessarily have to be this specific one. But let's be real, the FSB reaction to this was ridiculously slow. The reaction to this was ridiculously slow. When they were detained 16 kilometers from Belarus, and it makes no sense. He claimed they tried to cross over to Ukraine, that they had a window prepared, and as he said it, the Belarusian ambassador to Russia is like, no, they tried to cross over to Belarus, we stopped them. They tried to run away to Belarus and we stopped them. And then Lukashenko himself confirmed that Belarusian police helped Russians catch them because Belarusians didn't allow them to cross over to Belarus. You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense to blame Ukraine in this. Ukraine had nothing to do with the whole situation. They're just trying to push Ukraine in this because I think the only way that a lot of Westerners talk about this is specifically by focusing on Russia and Ukraine. I think effectively what they do very often is they take away the agency of a lot of other groups, both within Russia, but also a lot of nations within Russia and outside of Russia. So they're kind of like, oh yeah, the only perpetrators could be Ukraine because I only know about Russia and Ukraine, and these are the only two that I kind of see as players in this part of the world, you know? And then you say Tajikistan to them and they're like, no, that doesn't count. Is that like a new brand of Ukrainian? Has to be. No clear border. It's possible to carry weapons in 2014. Many warehouses with weapons were looted in Ukraine, made it possible to carry out a coup. What are you even talking about? What are you even talking about? The border between Russia and Ukraine is absolutely well defended right now. How the fuck would you carry weapons right now from Ukraine to Moscow? Are you insane? Are you fucking insane? How would you do it? That makes no sense. Plus, also, the idea that they were trying to run to Ukrainian border is a lie in the first place. Like, the fact that the fact that you're even typing the shit out is ridiculous. It's a lie. There's no reason to blame Ukraine for this. Underground tunnels all the way to Moscow. Oh shit, yeah, underground tunnels, and then one of them has to have a room that is 10 kilometers deep into the ground, because this is where they killed like a bunch of NATO agents in 2022. They were not detained on the way leading to Ukraine. That's a lie. They were not detained on the way leading to Ukraine. They did not attempt to go to Ukraine in the first place. That's bullshit. Like, you didn't look at the map. You have no idea what you're talking about. Fuck, what did I want to click on? I wanted to click on something. Trying to drive from Ukraine to Russia probably would get you shot by Russians. Yeah, it's such an idiotic thing to say. Like, how would you cross over from Ukraine to goddamn Russia in the first place? Man! No, just ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. But also Belarusians already said that the entire thing was a lie. So, yeah, basically no reason to even debate this bullshit. Wait, I wanted to click on another link, and then I lost it because I was getting salty. I was salting out. Have complete information from all sides. So far you have not given one piece of proper information. You've given bullshit. Set some common ground. Who do you think did the Nord Stream? We don't know who did the Nord Stream. Whoever did it did a good thing, but we don't know who did the Nord Stream. So yeah. But also, my dude, I can assure you no one in Europe like reads CNN and Fox News. No one gives a shit about that. That's a very American thing to say. You did? Nice. I don't know who did it. We don't know who did it. Whoever did it, though, genuinely did a good thing. And again, it's an opinion I've expressed here before, and it's an opinion I stand behind. If Russia did Nord Stream, it's gonna hurt my heart, and I will not be able to look at myself for at least a month in the mirror out of shame, but I will have to thank them for it. Whoever did Nord Stream did a good thing. Putin said that the USA warning about ISIS was just a provocation to intimidate Russia. Yeah, that too. Europeans must listen. No CNN, no Fox News. Who the fuck in Europe watches Fox News? CNN even, I guess I know some people who maybe do watch, not CNN itself, but like CNN related news. But like Fox News, who the fuck watches Fox News? No one watches Fox News. No, they didn't drive with car to the border of Ukraine. That's also a lie. That is also a lie. The terrorists did not try to go to the border of Ukraine. They were not arrested at the border of Ukraine. They did not try to go to the border of Ukraine, and it would be idiotic of them to even try to go there because it is the best protected border that Russia has. Like, it's making no sense. Even I think Nord Stream had to go. Yeah, base. Nord Stream had to go, definitely. Nord Stream shouldn't have been created when it was being created. The entire thing should have gotten blown up way sooner, and it's a tragedy we allowed it to keep on going for as long as we allowed it to keep on going. Whoever blew it up did a good thing. Just absolutely fully. One of them admitted to being Zelensky's twin brother. No, that's Romanian Onion posting on it. That's the Romanian Onion, because at one point they even say that how was it? One of the terrorists admitted to being Zelensky's mom. It's an Onion article. I found it really funny, but it's an Onion article. They stop killing each other. They are same blood and Orthodox religion. No. You are not looking at two same sides. You're not looking at two same sides. It's not they stop killing each other. It's Russia must stop killing Ukrainians. Russia is the one invading. Russia is the one invading. Russia is the one attempting a genocide. It makes no sense that they should stop killing each other. Ukraine did nothing wrong in this. Ukraine is defending itself. Is Nord Stream bad because it's money to Russia? Yes. Nord Stream is bad because it's making us reliant on Russia. Yes. We should not be reliant on Russia. Nord Stream is the product of German policy towards Russia, whose name I always forget. We call it Arschlecken to diplomacy, but Germans had a different way to say it. Israel. Oh no, I definitely think Israel should not be getting any sort of international support for this. I was quite pleased to see the reactions that many countries were giving, where they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna continue supporting Ukraine, but we will not be fucking supporting Israel, because what Israel is doing can be definitely amounts to ethnic cleansing, and definitely could be on a way to genocide if it gets proven that they had genocidal intent, which personally I definitely believe that some of their people do have. United States is financing the Ukraine to defend itself. United States is not financing the war. Ukraine did not start this war. Russia started this war. But what's the word for the Germany-Russia relationship thing?
What do you think about? How bad is drugs?
Wandel durch Handel. It's that one. The idea was basically, and this is why... Are you writing Russian in my stream? No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not doing that yet. We ain't friendly towards that. Do we put it like this? Let's put it like this. We ain't writing Russian. If we see a Russian speaker, they get removed. Is it a huge shock for Europe to be cut off? Yeah, it is a shock for Europe, but it's a shock that we deserved. We allowed Russia to go and to kill Georgians in 2008 because we didn't want to get cut off from Russian gas. It was us watching ethnic cleansing happening to a nation and being like, all right, it happens, but like, we like Russian gas. It was inexcusable. We allowed it and it was inexcusable. Then we allowed Russia to go and invade Ukraine for the same reason. Why did you ban that Russian guy? Because he's spreading lies. If you look through his message history, you can see what he is saying. He's spreading lies. They know more than us. Yeah, he knows more lies. He was spreading lies. He was saying that the terrorists tried to cross over to the border with Ukraine, which they did not do. He was trying to say that there's a reason to blame CIA for this attack, which there is nothing. Yeah, I don't care that you didn't see. I know I abandoned him. Go and look through the stream VOD and you will see his messages. I don't know what to tell you. No, I don't agree. A constructive relationship between European Union and Russia is a good thing, because we tried a constructive relationship with Russia ever since early 2000s, and the only thing we got was them killing Chechens, them killing Georgians, them invading Ukraine. We got nothing. Russia at no point tried to be a normal nation. So no, I don't agree that we need a relationship with them. I think we should immediately be cutting them off. When Putin asked to join NATO and he got refused, yeah, all right. Georgia got refused too. Ukraine got refused too. It's all right that a country gets refused from joining NATO and then it has to fulfill certain other requirements and try to join again. It's what happened to basically almost all newer NATO members. Your application is looked at, they see the problems, you have to keep on working with outside of NATO, but you have to be an ally for a bit longer so they can determine whether you are a reliable partner or not. Like, it's a normal thing. They don't have to allow him to join just because he wants to join. Russia shouldn't be having any sort of special treatment on this. Where were we on this? Where were we on this? Where were we on this? You claim the terrorists weren't crossing into Ukraine, but I have the map proving they were proper. proper. Fuck doing my own research. I must start believing people. Yeah, you just follow it. If Russia is... Bro, no. Russia is not in NATO. Russia doesn't get to invade countries around it because it's not a NATO member. The fuck are you saying? Just because it's not in NATO doesn't mean that there's excuse for them to go and attack people. What are you doing? They weren't allowed to get in NATO, all right. They should have kept cooperating with NATO more if they wanted to become members in the future. Or they should have just went neutral like Ukraine did when NATO refused to allow it membership. The fact that NATO refused membership to Russia means nothing. You can't say that if they got accepted in NATO, this war wouldn't happen. That's bullshit. You can't know that. This is like creating a whole new world. You're building a whole new world and you're like, oh yeah, I know what the outcome would be. You know shit. You know shit. This is useless. I don't care what sort of a sandbox you built inside your head, alright? We're dealing with a real world situation in which Russia is right now invading a sovereign country. I don't care. I don't care like how you built a world in your head where NATO allowed Russia to join and Russia became a civilized nation. I don't give a shit. Right? You want to write some fantasy books or something? Go and write fantasy books. I genuinely couldn't care less. What's that saying? Like, if my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike? Same worth as, oh yeah, if Russia was a NATO member, let's imagine geopolitics. Yeah, I don't give a shit. Yeah, I know a lot about the Russia-Ukraine war. If there is a single thing you think I don't know, freely point it out. Why wouldn't Russia invade Ukraine if they were a NATO member? The question stands, but again, it's one of those things where, like, it's world building. But, like, yeah, true, like, Turkey is not a peaceful nation, despite the fact that it's in NATO. Are you forgetting what Turkey is doing to Syria right now? Are you forgetting what it's doing to Kurds? Like, yeah, you can't pretend. Which is why the whole world building is tough. How can you know? Again, if there is a single thing you think I got wrong, point it out to me. If there is a single thing in anything I've said that you think is incorrect, point it out for me. You're too idealist? Define my idealism. Invite China to NATO? NATO shouldn't do invitations. Most Ukrainians want to be under Russia. I can say that I know quite a few Ukrainians who would fully disagree with you. I can say I know quite a few Ukrainians who would fully and absolutely disagree with you. The fact that Ukraine, when the invasion started, didn't even send a military to fight, but instead sent volunteers to fight, because volunteers are fighting so desperately against a foreign power attempting to invade them, shows completely a different side of the story to yours. No, most Ukrainians do not want to be under Russia. That's bullshit. That's nothing compared to thousands of them. Bro, if thousands of Ukrainians supported Russia invading them, Russia would already be able to reach Kyiv in 3 days. Where's all of those Russia supporters now? Surely Russia could have used it when their tanks ran out of gas when they were coming to attack Kyiv. Why didn't they get gas from all of these Russia supporters? One to handle was the attempt to strengthen ties with Russia economically to de-escalate the post-USSR tensions through, and it failed. And the second it failed, we should have exploded Nord Stream. We shouldn't even have built it. Alright, we shouldn't have even built it, but in the best case we should have used it as leverage, and we didn't. Free to do as they want, sure, but there's always consequences. The consequence in your mind being an invasion of a foreign nation that wants to ethnically cleanse your people. Bullshit. Just bullshit. No, it's not real politics. It's you supporting invasions onto sovereign nations. That's what it is. That's not real politics. Do you think your neighbor don't like you get consequences? No. Also not real politics. That's not what real politics is. That's not how civilized countries behave. That's not how international law is respected. People in Sydney that are New Zealanders and still support a sports team. I believe we have a good case for annexing the Australian state of New South Wales. Yeah, it's the same thing as when Serbia invaded Croatia and you had some Croats who were cooperating with Serb invaders. It's the same shit like that. You're always going to have collaborators with the nation invading you. That's always going to happen. It doesn't mean that the invasion was justified. Oh yeah, 8 years, don't Billy Bombas. True. Organs that can effectively prevent invasion. Preventing it? No, I do think that we could be punishing it, which is why I do think that actions like the NATO bombing of Belgrade are based and should be happening in similar situations. But yeah, the collaborators will always exist. Collaborators will always exist in every single nation. Collaborators, again, existed in Croatia when Croatia was being invaded. What mattered was not whether or not we had collaborators, but whether or not the amount of collaborators we had was higher than the amount of people who wanted to go and fight against Serbs attempting to ethnically cleanse our nations. And of course, Croatia at the time bravely fought and managed to liberate its territories. And collaborationists, unfortunately, most didn't get enough jail time, but let's be real. You don't believe in the rule of law? I think that's your way of viewing the world. I think personally, I would not want to be living next to a country that's primitive to that sort of extent. If Russians do not want to believe in rule of law, if Russians are the types of people to be cheating on suspects of crimes, getting their balls electrocuted and shit like that, I feel it's completely fine that they do that in their own country. Yeah, we didn't stay Yugoslavia. We didn't stay Yugoslavia because Serbia was attempting to rule over the entirety of our regions. We had every right to demand autonomy. We had every right to demand autonomy. If you believe we should have been under the Serb rule, that's your own worldview. I believe we are much better as separate countries. Bunch of weapons in an aid shipment? My man, what the hell? Oh, that's gonna be interesting to see the responses from that. All areas voted for Ukraine 1991, even Crimea, that too. large part of Ukrainians who wanted to be Russian. It doesn't matter. Ukraine has its own internationally accepted borders. Russia is invading another sovereign nation. That's that. That's that. I'm not too young to know Yugoslav things. Again, if there is anything you think I'm wrong about when it comes to Yugoslavia, point it out. There was never Yugoslavia, only great Serbian mentality. Absolutely, like after Tito died, it was all just the attempts to control all the other regions of Yugoslavia by the Serbs. It's why they took autonomy away from Kosovo. When Tito was still alive, he split Serbia into Serbia and Vojvodina and Kosovo because he was trying to not have a centralization of power within Serbia itself. The second that man died, they tried to overturn these decisions so they could have centralized power. Hey, Easter soon. That's true. We're having ham. We're having onions. We're having eggs. We're actually having lots of things. It's gonna be really, really cool. It's gonna be really, really, really cool. I'm really, really hyped. Also, I'm gonna be having lots of guests. So that's also gonna be interesting. 47. I'm like the anti. You know how you see a Russian and they look 47, but they're actually 12. I'm the opposite of that. Gonna be eating a lot of shit. Take on Gaza. I think that Israeli indiscriminate bombing is absolutely something that we must be condemning. I don't think in any way it follows the international law that we are trying to uphold. That's what I believe. These two will have to figure out a way to be coexisting with each other, and what Israel is doing right now is not enabling that in any sort of a way. So, yeah. NATO was threatening to spread to Ukraine. No, NATO was not threatening to spread to Ukraine. Ukraine was neutral in 2014. Not planning to eat the guests, just the ham. It kind of depends. It kind of depends on which guests come around. So we'll see. We'll see. Well, Western American politics. I don't really care about American politics that much, to be honest. I understand the parts that are important to me. But I don't really choose to focus on it. I choose to focus on European politics, specifically Eastern European politics, because that's where I am. American politics, like, I understand parts, but it's not something that I choose to spend a lot of time on. Don't think Ukraine agreed on remaining neutral. Ukraine back in 2014 did not attempt to join NATO. Ukraine in 2014 was not attempting to join NATO because NATO refused Ukraine to join back in 2008 already, and that was that. So there was no move to go and join NATO. Ukraine, by all means, was neutral. There was no reason to fear that it's going to join NATO. It wasn't working towards that. There wasn't a big popular move to go and join it. There was like nothing. That was neutrality. Yeah, we do mark the eggs. We do mark the eggs, true. If Biden abstained in the resolution for ceasefire in Gaza out of the goodness of his own heart? No, I think UN resolutions, what UN has to offer are words, and words only. When UN calls for a resolution, like didn't the last one literally get rejected by Hamas? What are we talking about? But when UN calls for a resolution, it's the same thing that I see a lot of people bitching on the other side, like when Russia refuses to vote for a resolution, and then people are like, oh, Russia is stopping the ceasefire in Gaza. A UN resolution doesn't mean that a ceasefire has to happen. That's bullshit. I think people don't know what UN resolutions are in the first place. What UN can offer are words and words only. As long as they don't intend to approve a NATO mission or something, like what they did in Yugoslavia, which was based. But as long as they don't want to do something like that, like the UN can offer only and solely words. So what the UN is doing is just writing, oh yeah, we call for a ceasefire, and then you have resolutions that were like supported by USA but refused by Russia, which say that they support a ceasefire, but Hamas has to release all the hostages. And then you had different resolutions which called for a ceasefire, which were refused by USA but supported by Russia, which do not call for Hamas to release the hostages. So it was just about the words. It was about like which side is assigned blame when they call for a ceasefire. But ceasefire was not going to be something that would be like pushed to happen in the first place. It's UN. UN is largely useless. So yeah. No, the Maidan Revolution was about Europe. Maidan Resolution was about Europe because Ukraine at the time was supposed to have a deal with European Union. So it was about Europe. It was not about NATO in 2014 specifically. So we're talking start of the invasion. It was not about NATO. Large part of Ukrainians supporting Russia and welcoming the occupation. Russia is still a country that is invading a sovereign nation. The invasion itself is inexcusable. If they have parts of collaborationists, they should be arrested, as should happen in any other country, where you have people who are betraying the country and aiding a foreign aggression on their own ground. But, yeah, collaborationists always happen. But yeah, that's basically it. Azov battalion, volunteer battalions defending Ukraine. We had the same thing here. We had the same thing when Serbs attacked us here. When it comes to my village specifically, for example, there's videos from this. It was one evening that they gathered the entire village in the common room, in the common house in the village. Common house sounds like a whorehouse. But it was like a community hanging out rooms. They gathered the village there and they were like, hey guys, the Serbs are going to cross the bridge tomorrow. They're crossing the bridge tomorrow. And they actually did cross the bridge tomorrow morning. They were like, who stays to fight, stays to fight. If you have ways to get out, get out. If you have the ways to get the kids out, get the kids out. But like, they're saying that they're going to cross the bridge. And they are very likely going to cross the bridge. We have no reason to doubt what they are saying. We see that they are collecting the military, and they already did start shelling certain locations around the village itself, right? So it was like, yeah, if you stay to fight, you stay to fight. If you don't stay to fight, you don't stay to fight, but they're going to be crossing over. When Serbs started crossing over, people fighting against them in the streets were volunteers. This was not actual Croatian military at the start of the invasion. Again, we got the warning like late at evening, and then morning time they were here. The people that met them at the crossing were Croatian volunteers. It was volunteer battalions that were armed with whatever weapons they could find around, whatever weapons they could quickly get from whichever sources they could get them from, many of them illegal sources, that they tried to then use against the Serb forces invading. So my view of Azov Battalion is that Azov Battalion, like with every other volunteer battalion, was created in a time of need when a foreign power was invading and the military of the country simply couldn't hold them back. It's what happens. Like, Croatia is way smaller than Ukraine is, and our military already had almost an impossible time trying to stop the Serbs from crossing, right? And Ukraine's huge. Ukraine's huge. Protecting the entirety of the border by their military, that would have taken years of preparation. And we're talking about a country that intentionally tried to make itself to seem as the least possible problematic player in this side of the world so it wouldn't get attacked. Right? Like, we're talking about a country that, while it was invaded, Zelensky lowers the funding for the military of Ukraine. They were trying so hard to tell Russians, hey, we are not a threat. You don't need to attack us. You don't need to invade us. Look, we are not a threat. We are not a threat. We are neutral. We are not trying to fight you. We are not a threat. So in a situation where they got invaded, absolutely, I think it's expectable that they sent volunteer battalions, which were in many cases self-organized people, only later forming into some more organized fighting forces. Hunting rifles, self-made weapons, absolutely. Like, I know here in a situation, they looted the nearby police department to find weapons. They looted through it, and the police allowed it, like they knew it was going on, but they were like, what do we do? Right? Like, it won't really help us if we have all of these weapons stored. So, yeah, we're just not gonna do anything. We're gonna allow the villagers to take the weapons, and let's hope they're able to do something. Yeah, they've been linked to neo-Nazism. Any sort of a volunteer battalion is going to be linked to extremist organizations. When you had volunteers here defending against the Serbs crossing, you had volunteers here who were still waving around Ustaše flags. Of course you had extremists. We're talking about people who were willing to go and die when an invasion was happening on their country. Volunteers, like they knew they had shit hunting rifles with a very limited amount of ammunition. And they still went there to fight against this invasion. Of course, you're going to have some of them being absolutely deranged in their ideologies and their nationalism. Personally, I don't see that as surprising at all. It's volunteers, of course they are. So, yeah, I have no opinions on that. As someone who knows a lot of people who were in a very similar situation, I don't see anything surprising about that. No. I'm not supporting any invasion. Wait, what was the thing? Those who support Russia should be allowed the freedom of speech and rights. They were allowed the freedom of speech and rights. What is illegal is supporting an aggression in your country. You're allowed your freedom of speech and rights. No one was taking it away from them. But yeah, so overall, I think a lot of people, when they talk about Azov being extremists, I think a lot of them are imbeciles who live in safe countries, which is a position I've seen from a lot of Westerners. Like this idea that, oh yeah, if my country gets invaded, oh, I only want the morally pure people to go to the front line to defend it. Yeah, if a military right now is marching into my city, I just want only the best. I want the pro-life, I want the Democrats, I want specifically people who have never harmed a single soul to be defending me. That is not a choice you will be making if your country is getting invaded. That is not a choice you will be making. What you will be doing is you're going to go and you're going to raid the police department, you're going to steal their weapons, you're going to have civilians making Molotov cocktails, and you're going to be giving Molotovs to every single person willing to throw them. You don't make a distinction. You don't have the privilege to make the distinction, right? Now, if Azov was going into Russia to attack Russians or something, if Azov was doing terrorist attacks, if anything like that ever happened, this conversation would be completely different. But when it comes to specifically some Azov members being absolutely deluded in their beliefs, I think it takes a very idiotic, sheltered, privileged person to be surprised that there were extremists in these people. Also, I have to leave soon, my dudes. I have to go to work. I have to go start driving for my work in around, let's say 20 minutes. So, yeah, if you got any other things you would like to touch on very quickly, I would love to hear them. And if not, I have to go. Do you stream at this hour? If I work afternoon, I stream at this hour. And then if I work before noon, I stream afternoon. So it's basically, I work 2 shifts and I stream in the shift I'm not working. So yeah, for next week we're gonna have to see, because I don't know when I work next week. I don't know when I work next week. It's Easter week. I don't know. Listen, I don't know when I work. I don't know how long I work. I know nothing. Know nothing right now. So next week's likely gonna be very, very chaotic. And I will be having to update you possibly on the day, unless I'm really lucky and I get a proper schedule. After the war, far-right people from Azov or so will become a problem. Yeah, definitely, I agree with that fully. Again, same thing that happened here. During the war, you can't choose. During the war, where you are the side defending itself, you can't choose. You can't pick. I don't agree West can barely stay alive themselves. I think the West is very stable. But during the war, while you are defending yourself, you can't be choosing. Beggars can't be choosers, right? So you want to survive, that's that. That's your priority. I want to live. It doesn't matter who's fighting for you. They're fighting for you. They're fighting to keep your family alive. You can't be choosing, you know? You're not gonna be like, I don't want this man with Nazi tattoos to be defending me, so just allow Russians to come in and rape my children. You're not gonna do that. Not gonna do that, alright? You're gonna give the man with Nazi tattoos weapons so he can fight off people trying to come in and attack you. But after the war, yes, there's a big possibility that there is going to be problems with these people, which is the same thing we're seeing here in Croatia, really. I think Ukraine, in a lot of ways, is going to mirror the problems that have been happening in Croatia, in which we still have problems with the far right, but we're clearing them off. It's a process, and we're clearing them off. It's not a process. It's not a problem that's like unique to a country that had to go through this path. It's just something that slowly you have to evolve out of, in a way. 2019? I think in 2019 Ukraine was the victim of a Russian aggression. I don't really think there was a dramatic change in any sort of a direction. Yeah, I don't really think there was a dramatic change in any sort of a direction, really. Far-rights from Azov already sold their lives for Ukraine. There are barely 2 ultranationalists left. That's true. It's something that like you'll have to deal with after the war. But while the war is going, you can't choose. You can't fucking choose, right? No, I genuinely think the West is doing well. I think the West is doing well. I think we're doing fine. This one, Google rise to the Western world. Oh. But I don't know. I genuinely think the West is doing fine. I don't think we're dealing with any sort of issues. The West? What is the West failing at? We're doing GG. We're doing absolutely alright. Like the biggest issues you could point out. Alright, if you want to focus on USA, you could point out an interesting amount. You could point out the problems with our democracy at the time. Could point out the fact that it's very dangerous that Trump is being allowed so close to power over the country. Very dangerous that they had a whole thing where they attempted to have a court case against Biden based only and solely on false information. And they're just like trying to hide that. Stuff like that is like very, very concerning. So we could talk about that. What else do we have? We got the rise of right-wingers. I think the rise of right-wingers is also quite an interesting problem. Specifically about, specifically regarding the immigration conversations. I think that would be the problem of the West. But what else? Trump's a criminal. I don't really give a shit about him that much. Legal solution for Trump rather than a political one. But also I do think that he is a criminal. They're contending that Trump and his company deceived lenders and insurers by giving them financial statements that boldly overstated his asset values and overall net worth. The defendants deny the allegations. I mean, considering the fact it's Trump, I don't really see it as too wild of an accusation. The bank pegged Trump's wealth at several $billions lower than he did, according to documents and testimony. So he listed his net worth at $5.8 billion. The bank adjusted it to $2.5. Now they're saying that this is a normal thing. No, it's one of those things. I don't know if I would call it not really democratic though. Just a normal court case regarding a possible financial fraud. If it gets proven, it gets proven. If it doesn't get proven, it's gonna get thrown out. I don't really think there's anything undemocratic about it, really. It's not like they're presenting false data on it, are they? It's not false data. I don't think the West is falling apart in the first place. I don't agree that the West would be falling apart even further, because I don't think the West is falling apart. Spend a lot of time with Epstein? Yeah, that too. That too. Oh shit, I saw this. Yeah, they tried to deport one of them and then the other ones were fighting about it. Case to remove Biden's political opponent, which has no basis. Yeah, if he has no basis, it's gonna get thrown out. If there's no basis for the case, it's gonna get thrown out, like the case against Biden. The case for supposed Biden impeachment got thrown out because there was no evidence for it. If there's no evidence, it's gonna be thrown out. I don't think there's anything undemocratic about it at all, really. There's going to be investigations done, and, you know, if he did it, he did it. If he didn't do it, it's gonna get thrown out. That's that, really. No, I don't agree that the numbers say differently even. I think we like to report on the numbers very dramatically. I genuinely think the West is doing alright. I genuinely think that the West is going alright, my dudes. I don't think the West is falling apart at all. So, yeah, I think we're fine. I think we're absolutely fine. No, the numbers look pretty alright for everyone, my dudes. The numbers look pretty alright for everyone, which is like being dramatic. My January, 2023, this one. Oh shit, where did they go? Yeah, they constrained his organization in New York. Europe? No, I think Europe's doing alright. The cheeseburgers idiot sent an unban request. I quote, "This is not a politics stream, I simply spoke an opinion." Sir, this is a politics stream, first of all. And yeah, I do ban people if their opinion is retarded. So you can be stupid somewhere else. I don't care that you're like quoting me. Freedom of expression is one of the essential foundations of a democratic society. This is not a democratic society. This is my stream. I'm the dictator here. If you're gonna be spreading lies, if you're gonna be sending stupid shit, you're gonna get banned. What do you even had? Oh yeah, what was the opinion that the man expressed? Volodymyr Zelensky is a cokehead warmonger. Ridiculous, just ridiculous. Also, yeah, guys, I genuinely have to be leaving. National debt for USA is alright. It's not crumbling. It's not crumbling. A lot of it basically owns to itself in the first place. It's doing fine. It's like when I go to those commie streams, I go to communist streams, and they have like national debt counter saved, and they're like, oh yeah, look at USA, look at national debt. Man, who the fuck gives a shit? Do you even know what that is? I very much doubt you even know what that is. Chill the fuck down. We're doing fine. Like, we're doing alright. USA is doing absolutely alright. Come on. It's one of those things where I see they show people a lot of numbers, and they're like, numbers scary, and then people go, oh, numbers scary, really? Look, let's just chill the fuck down. We don't have any educated scientists and statisticians. I also disagree with that. Now look, to call the debt good isn't true. The debt isn't actually good, alright, obviously. But like, is USA going to crumble? Is the West going to crumble because of that shit? My dudes, come on. I don't know. I see that shit as the same thing when like BRICS was supposed to make a currency that is going to, it's going to be stronger than dollars, and then no one will be using dollars anymore, and the West is going to crumble because of that. This is bullshit. You're talking mad shit, my dude. You're talking mad, dramatic shit. This is not going to happen. Chill the fuck down, sit down, alright? Just come on. What are you doing? Also, yeah, I genuinely have to go. And some of y'all bitches need to drink some chamomile tea. Okay, calm down those hormones. Calm down those fucking hormones. They're not doing anything good to you. You're turning into bitches. We'll be seeing you next week. So, yeah. Stay strong. I hope you eat a lot of healthy shit during your Easter vacations. Hope you're gonna be eating lots of good shit, lots of healthy shit, hydrating a lot, eat a lot of beer. Drink a lot of beer. You know, there's a joke here, the Germans see beer as a food. So maybe also eat it, I don't know what you guys do there. But have a nice time. I will be updating you on the stream time in Discord. So yeah, I think that's that. Love you very much. I'm gonna go to work, so send thoughts, send prayers.